Thank you again giving me the opportunity to present on our project. Yeah, essentially what I'll go through. Yep. I just want to touch on essentially what fuel cells mean and what it is for Toyota, our engagement activities, hydrogen mobility, as well as industry support and infrastructure, which is one of the key aspects for these type of vehicles. So why are we looking at fuel cells? So essentially, back in 2015, Toyota launched a global environmental challenge. So that environmental challenge goes right up to, it looks at 6 different aspects. I'm just going to touch on 2 of those key aspects that we're focused on, is that by 2050, we need to have a 90% reduction in CO2 emissions from our vehicles. So that's quite a significant challenge, and what that means is that zero emission vehicles, whether it be battery electric or fuel cell electric, will need to be part of that future powertrain lineup. Also, challenge 3 is about infrastructure. So our buildings need to be zero emissions as well. So we already started that journey by installing solar on a lot of our buildings, and we're going to continue doing that to meet that challenge. From a Toyota Australia perspective, our vision is about creating innovative mobility solutions for all Australians. And regarding fuel cell vehicles, it's about also creating sustainable mobility, but also building on Australia's future hydrogen society. Just wanted to highlight this timeline as well regarding the vehicle development. So with Toyota, a lot of the focus starts way back. So development on the fuel cell electric vehicle started back in 1992. And from the timeline, there's been different versions or iterations of the technology. Obviously, safety is one of the key aspects, but it's also about making sure that performance requirements for our customers or guests are number one, and also making the systems a lot smaller so they can be fitted into conventional vehicles. Just with the driving forces about our fuel cell adoption, so when we talk about the hydrogen society, it's not only about transportation, but about energy and how hydrogen as an energy source can be utilized. We're also looking at global CO2 targets for vehicle emissions. So currently in Australia, we don't have any emissions targets as yet. We anticipate that will be coming, but global markets are already moving towards that. So zero emission vehicles, electrified vehicles are already part of competitive products in other markets. I've already explained the 2050 challenge, but what are the advantages of hydrogen as a fuel? Is basically it offers us zero emissions out of our vehicle. So the vehicle we got outside only emits water as its emissions. It has a short refueling time, so it only takes roughly 3 to 5 minutes to refuel this vehicle at a commercial station. It does also offer long-range driving. So in the case of our vehicle, it's been tested to do around 550 kilometer range. And obviously hydrogen's got a high energy density. The other benefit with hydrogen is that you can manufacture it from various sources as well. Our approach to all this is that it is focusing on industry and government. So we want to be able to promote the vehicles through these type of activities. Again, when we look at the fuel costs, so our anticipation is that fuel costs need to be comparable to what we're currently paying for our vehicles, if not cheaper. Hydrogen should be green in the midterm. So this aligns quite well with what was being presented over here by Dr. Finkel and so on, because it does actually explain how it is going to be a transition period for us to get to green hydrogen at some point. Stations, again, need to be near and convenient for users. So like our petrol station network, it needs to be where people are used to refueling their vehicles, so you don't have range anxiety and issues like that. Again, fuel cells are not just for vehicles, so we do also have it for trucks, buses. We've actually got 2 Toyota fuel cell forklifts in Australia, which are the only 2 outside of Japan, which are currently in use at our warehouses. So quite privileged to have those vehicles there. And again, we're about also demonstrating hydrogen through these fuel cell pilot initiatives. Again, it's all about building that hydrogen society. So in 2018, as has been highlighted here, there was a lot of activity that happened in the hydrogen space. So we had the COAG Energy Council, CSIRO roadmap, ARENA future export study, and again, what was the breakthrough was the CSIRO ammonia research with hydrogen storage with ammonia. So the Mirai is our fuel cell vehicle, and for those who don't know, Mirai actually stands for future in Japanese. We actually brought a car out to Australia in 2015 for a short period for a hydrogen conference. Since then, in 2016, we actually introduced 3 vehicles to be based here in Australia with the purpose of using it for engagement activities. We had, as part of that, we needed to be able to refuel the vehicles, otherwise it'd be a pretty short drive. So we actually developed our own mobile refueler and service bay as well. So we can sustain these vehicles whilst they're here. And we've actually used it to great advantage by taking the cars out and about, which I'll show you in the next slides. And again, the whole purpose about this is about engaging with government, participants in the hydrogen industry, customers, the general public as well. So we also try to go out to different public events as well to, again, bring the technology to the people so we can build that awareness. So the marketing and engagement activities, this was an area that I'm directly involved with. We're not actually trying to sell the Mirai here in Australia, but we are trying to sell the vision and the technology and how that fuel cell electric vehicles can benefit us here in Australia. So this is just some of the images you'll see are some of our key activities that we've been doing. So we mentioned government, and we're trying to meet with all forms of government, whether it be federal, state, and local. Industry groups as well is a key area. Fleet dealerships. So we do see an opportunity with fleets with fuel cell electric vehicles. Universities, schools and research institutes, which leads us into some STEM opportunities as well. So focused on that, so potentially having cars at different schools and so on, hopefully inspires students to think that might be some future opportunities in the job market in hydrogen fuel cell technologies. We've done some media activities as well, also with first responders as well to take the vehicles out to emergency services. And again, as I mentioned, general public. So we've had cars this year. In fact, we took a car up to Gladstone at EcoFest as well. So people, it's what we call grassroots events where people can actually come up and have a look at the vehicle, ask the questions, and yeah, hopefully get some insights into how it works. One of the activities that was really exciting to be part of has been the Mirai loan program. So as part of all the activities run with the 3 vehicles, we actually introduced another 10 vehicles to Australia. And the purpose of that was to actually have a loan program. So external people can actually loan the vehicles out for depending on whether it's typically 3 to 6 months, but they get the opportunity to drive the vehicles in real world conditions. So rather than just going for a drive around the block and telling us how quiet and how good the car is, you experience it and in your own environment. And so far, it's been really positive with it. It's about also normalizing the technology. It is the first Australian fuel cell electric vehicle trial to be initiated. At the moment, it's all been Melbourne-based. Obviously, the key challenges here has been refueling and even getting the vehicles imported down to Australia with registrations and so on, because sometimes trying to bring a car into Australia, the policies aren't actually written for some of these vehicles. So it's an iterative process as well. From a current program status, so these have been some of the participants so far within the program, which they've utilized the vehicles to their own benefit as well. We're obviously continuing to look for new clients to be part of this program as well. Some of the key points for this is that it is a paid program that participants take part in. We basically offer them fortnightly refueling of the vehicles regardless of their fuel load. Again, it's mainly about making sure that people get to use the technology and drive it as normal as possible without having range anxiety and those sorts of issues. We've traveled over 10,000 kilometers now with these vehicles, and it's continuing to increase. Again, social media has been a really key aspect with this activity, because a lot of the clients that are using their own social medias, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or whatever it is, to actually promote their own activities. So inadvertently, it is a Toyota branded vehicle, but again, promoting fuel cell electric vehicles. And again, education and engagement is such an important part of this whole thing. I think the previous couple of presentations talked about education around safety. Again, it is about that and people understanding the technology as well. But is hydrogen the only solution? This is a chart that comes from Toyota Japan as well, which is basically our view on the future. We're going to be going through a period of what we call powertrain diversification, I suppose. You're going to have hybrid vehicles, which we currently have in the market, and plug-in hybrids, EV cars as well, and you will have fuel cell electric vehicles. Our view is that fuel cell electric vehicles would probably move more towards the heavy commercial type vehicles. So what your current diesel heavy trucks are, fuel cell technology would be ideally placed to replace the diesel trucks, but all our passenger urban type vehicles would be more on the battery electric vehicles. So how does the vehicle work itself? So we actually refuel this car and store hydrogen on board the vehicle in 2 storage tanks. It's then fed to the fuel cell, which is located in the center of the vehicle. It then takes oxygen from the front of the vehicle, which is then pumped into the fuel cell as well to generate the electricity. So the only byproduct that comes out of it is the water. So with refueling the vehicle as well, as I mentioned, we've got our a mobile refueling station, but essentially it operates in the same manner as a normal petrol station that it does, or an LPG, for instance. So it does have a receptacle which you connect to the vehicle. It actually has some enhanced safety features where it's got an infrared connection between the vehicle and the refueling station. So it detects and basically the vehicle tells the refueling station the state the tank is in terms of pressure, temperature, and what fuel loads it's got in there. Once it's connected on there, it goes through a tightness check to ensure that the seal is 100% fitted, and only then will it start basically pumping hydrogen into the vehicle. That image down the bottom is of our mobile refueler, and it is on the back of a big diesel truck, so there is a bit of irony when we pull up with our truck, but it has given us the flexibility in taking vehicles and the infrastructure to various parts of Australia. Now, some of the fuel cell initiatives of the Toyota Group have been in the commercial space, so we are actually seeing some of this technology moving into that area. Fuel cell technology is what we call scalable. So unlike a battery electric vehicle where power and range is basically dictated by the battery, with fuel cells it's almost decoupled. So if you want more power, you can increase the size of the fuel cell or double the fuel cell. If you want more range, similarly just increase the tank sizes. So some of these vehicles that are being developed, the buses and trucks and so on, are utilizing the same technology out of the vehicle, or the Mirai, but actually being scaled up. But we are seeing a lot more activity now with the buses and trucks. I just want to talk about our project regarding some of the infrastructure initiatives that we're looking at. So when manufacturing finished at Altona, we actually are going through a transition, and the transition is the whole site at Altona is actually be turning into a center of excellence. And part of that center of excellence is the Hydrogen Center. And what is the Hydrogen Center? Or rather, we had a formal announcement about this center, and that was attended by the federal government and ARENA as well. And it got a lot of media attention as to what we are doing as part of this whole project. So what is the actual Hydrogen Center? It's about developing a model of the hydrogen economy in Australia. So what we're planning to do is a demonstration activity to showcase how we can actually produce hydrogen on site. We want to be able to store it and be able to dispense it as well. As part of that, we're also developing an education center as well, or an experience center. So again, people that have very limited knowledge of hydrogen technologies can come through the center and get basically an interactive explanation as to how the technology works, what is the benefits, and hopefully even get an opportunity to drive the fuel cell vehicles on our test track that we have on site. And again, it is about collaboration with industry and other research opportunities. Probably just want to finish there, but if the weather is not raining, please come out and have a look at the car close up, and if you have any other questions regarding the technology, feel free to come and see me. Thank you.